Hi everybody, my name is Brian Brown from Florida State University, and I'm going to be doing a quick demo of the Drupal 8 Embargoes module using the Islandora 8 virtual machine. So to start out, we'll take a look at this node. You can see in the URL it's localhost 8000 node/1. This is of the repository item content type provided by Islandora 8 by default. So we've got a little bit of metadata, and then we've also got an attached media entity which has a file. That media is localhost 8000/media/1, and then we've got the path to the item in fly system to Fedora. So to demo how the embargo modules work, I will be using a second browser. Here in Google Chrome, I'm logged in as admin, but I'll also be doing some exploration of items in Mozilla Firefox as an anonymous user. So you can see as an anonymous user, I can see the exact same repository item, but it doesn't have the menu on top. So to get to the media on that item, I have to go to localhost 8000/media/1, but that media is available and I can click the file to get straight to it. So if you've got embargoes enabled, and you clear the cache to make sure that you can get access to this menu. Sometimes it doesn't appear until you clear the cache. You should have this little tab here that says Embargoes. If you click it, you'll see that there are currently no embargoes on this node, but you can add as many as you want. We'll add an embargo. You can make it of type node, which completely suppresses the node and all its files from the file system, or files, which is kind of like a data stream embargo in 7x. We'll start with node, do it indefinite, no exemptions, and hit submit. It takes a little while because every time you create, update, or delete an embargo, it flushes the system's cache, because there are certain edge cases where you look at a node, it's accessible. You put an embargo on it, and then you go look at the node again, and it shouldn't be accessible, but it renders the old accessible view from the cache. So in order to make sure there's no leaks where people see things that they shouldn't, we're going to clear the cache every time an embargo is touched. So the embargo has been created, and because we are user 1, we can still see the embargo, even though we do see this warning label on top telling us that there's an embargo on the item. Same thing with the media, and then the file is still accessible. But our anonymous user is not going to see the node, is not going to see the media, and is not going to see the file. So let's go back and change that embargo to make it a files type embargo, with the idea here being that our anonymous user will be able to see the node, but will not be able to see the media or the file associated with the node. So once it's done flushing the cache, we'll go back and refresh those pages and hit it from a fresh cache, and we can see that the file still inaccessible. The media still inaccessible, but the node is now accessible and has that handy dandy little warning label. So now I'll show you a little bit about using IP ranges. So the IP ranges populated here are actually entities that we create through the configuration menu for embargoes. So we go to admin config content embargoes settings, and here you can actually turn that little banner message on or off, but we'll look at IP ranges and we'll see that I currently have 2 set up. If you use Vagrant a lot, you know that your IP range from within Vagrant is always 10.0.2.2. So we've got an IP range here that uses CIDR notation that allows 10.0.2.2, and then we've got another IP range that doesn't allow that allows 10.2.0.0. IP ranges have a human readable label, a machine name, a range that you can enter as many CIDR addresses as you want, separated by a bar, and also an optional proxy URL that can be used to proxy that resource that you're trying to get to through your campus's proxy and authenticate and whatnot. So if you want to use IP ranges, you've got to go ahead and set one up here. But since we've already got some set up, we'll start by using the Vagrant IP range, which should allow our anonymous user to bypass this embargo completely. So even though there will be an embargo on the node, they'll be able to get through it, and you can tell that there's an embargo on the node because they'll still see that little warning banner. So once it's done fleshing the cache, we'll go hit that fresh, and the node is visible, and it'll even tell you it's restricted to the Vagrant network. The media is visible, and the file is now visible. So we get some interesting behavior whenever we change the IP range to something that the user that's accessing it is not on, because this enables the proxy behavior of the embargo module. So the idea is that, say we have an IP range called FSU Campus that defines the IP range of anyone who's on campus. And we embargo material that should be visible to FSU users. Well, I'm trying to look at this thing from home, so I'm not on FSU campus. I need a way that I can proxy to that resource. So, in order to make that as easy as possible, any time that a user tries to access a node or a media or a file that is embargoed but has an allowed IP range, but they are not on that allowed IP range, then it takes us to a special 403 page that's created by the module. Localhost 8000/embargoes/IP access denied, and then we have a get parameter for path, which shows the path to the resource we were trying to access, along with a get parameter for ranges, which is a period separated list of the machine names of the ranges that are allowed to bypass the embargoes. So here on this page it tells you what you were trying to access, along with a HTML list of all the allowed ranges, all the allowed IP ranges anyway. And if that range has a proxy URL configured to it, then it turns that range name into a hyperlink. And you can see at the bottom left-hand corner, it actually prepends that proxy URL and then appends the URL of the resource you were trying to access. So here it's https my.fake.proxy.url/login $URL equals localhost 8000/node/1. So this would work perfectly if you are using Easy Proxy on campus. If you click this link, you would be asked to authenticate with your campus credentials, and then you would be rerouted back to the resource you were originally trying to access. No muss, no fuss. So let's change this and make it to where it's not an IP range, but it is actually whitelisting a user that I've created called Testy McTestface. So you can use permissions to grant people the ability to bypass and manage embargoes by role. So you could create a role like embargo admin and then apply that role to anyone that should be able to bypass all embargoes. But there is a special edge case that wasn't even possible in Islandora 7x, where you want to give someone access to a resource that is embargoed, but make sure that they can only access just this resource. They can only bypass this embargo, but not others. And this functionality on embargoes, where you allow certain users, makes this possible. So we've got a user Testy McTestface, and we're going to go back. We're still logged out, and now it should give us the old access denied page. And I didn't show it, but that IP access denied special behavior also works with the media and with the files as well. So now we see that we're access denied. We're going to log in localhost 8000 user login, Testy McTestface. We are now logged in as Testy McTestface, and now everything is accessible. So some further things that you might be interested in with the Embargoes module is not only do you have these settings here to take off the embargo message, you can also set up a contact email that displays on that IP access denied page to give the user a point of contact in case they have questions or issues with their access. We've got a full suite of notifications settings here that can be used, along with a template that you can change that uses little pseudo tokens that gets emailed out to everyone whenever an embargo is created, updated, deleted, expires, or whenever it's about to expire. And you can configure how many days until expiration you want that warning to go out. We can set up all the IP ranges. We have an entity view of all the existing embargoes in the system that you can manage from one place. And additionally, we also have a log that shows all the embargo activity that's ever happened on the system. There's a lot more here because I've tried to do this demo several times and had to start over. But you can see whenever something's created, updated, or deleted. And a neat thing about this log is that it's not using Drupal's watchdog system. So with reports, for instance, it's pretty easy for someone to go through and clear all those reports so that people don't have access to them anymore, and then it's just lost. But because this is just writing lines to a database table, this can't be cleared. It remains a written in stone record of every time anyone's touched an embargo. It tells you what embargo was messed with, when it happened, what the action was, what the embargoed node was, and what user was responsible for it. So that should be pretty useful. This is the end of the demo. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email at bjbrown@fsu.edu or get in contact with me on the Islandora Slack if you have questions. Thank you.